District Board of Education regular meeting for Wednesday, October 28, 2015. Has this meeting been properly noticed, Mrs. Collins?
Yes, it has.
Can you call the roll, please?
Tito?
Here.
Eliason?
Here.
Evans?
Here.
Garner?
Here.
Herzog?
Here.
Lindberger?
Here.
Olmsted?
Here.
We have a quorum.
At this time, we will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by students from Alps School.
If you want to work your way up to right by the door here, and the flag is there.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hang on, you guys, before you take off here.
You were among the most well-voiced pledge leaders we've had in a long time, so thank you.
Why don't you guys pick out these, your names there? These are the certificate of appreciation from the school. Thank you very much. At this time, we usually tell the people who come in for the pledge that you may stay if you wish to watch this, or you can leave. So it's up to you guys. Board and administrative reports. President report, there is none. Superintendent's report.
Yes, good evening, and for the superintendent's good news report for October 28th, 2015. First of all, 4th and 5th grade students from Jacob Shapiro Brain-Based Instructional Laboratory School had an opportunity to explore the world of engineering design when a group of engineers from Oshkosh Corporation joined them for a morning. Students learned about teamwork and the importance of math and science as it relates to engineering, as well as well-received information and possible engineering careers in Oshkosh. Webster Stanley news. Students from Webster Stanley Elementary celebrated National Walk to School Day on October 7th. Students who walked to school received a raffle ticket for a chance to win a prize. 2 students from Webster Stanley Elementary were recognized at a recent morning meeting. Congratulations to John Lee for winning the monthly PBIS raffle, and to Adrian Braun, who was acknowledged for his story about being Webster the very best school, or the best school. Lakeside Elementary students celebrated International Walk to School Day, and as you recognize that walking to Lakeside is a little difficult by walking at school. Thanks to Safe Routes to School for donating incentive prizes, Lakeside students recently named the new mascot Thunder. Thunder visits Lakeside during assemblies, where students like to watch him dance. Lakeside construction is close to wrapping up. Flooring in the new section was completed this past week, and the roof on the gym is just about totally completed, a nice smooth metal roof. Traeger Elementary School celebrated International Walk to School Day on October 7th. To prepare for this event, PE teacher Brian Holtzman taught students about pedestrian safety in gym class. They held a big Be Bright, Be Safe, Be Seen dress-up day so students would be visible on their way to school. Students were welcomed to school with a surprise tunnel sponsored by West High School. Students who used non-motorized transportation received a punch on their frequent biker card, and were eligible to win prizes donated by Safe Routes to School. Students who were not able to walk to school were able to walk at recess in order to be eligible for the prize drawing. Prior to the morning bell, the entire student body performed PED safety dance on the playground, which was taught by Mrs. Schmidt in class. We want to thank the staff at Nike Outlet who joined us on that very special day. I note that I don't think there was anybody on the roof this year. I think Dr. Herzog and I last year watched students on the roof at Traeger, and we were glad that we weren't on the roof this time. Since Wisconsin is the national leader in manufacturing, and manufacturing plays such an important role in the economic growth in the state, Webster Stanley students enrolled in manufacturing and engineering classes at the middle school level were given the opportunity to tour local manufacturing companies. Students were shown and received a tour at J Manufacturing to learn about careers in welding, brake press operation, engineering, production management, and IT. Thank you to the Oshkosh Chamber for partnering with our schools to provide the opportunity, this great learning opportunity. The South Park news. South Park 8th grade girls volleyball team recently competed against South Park staff. Staff came out on top 5 out of 6 games, but a fun time was had by all. South Park staff recently completed the bike relay races during the lunch hour to raise money for the United Way campaign as well. Congratulations to second grade students at Washington Elementary School who recently completed their swimming lessons. Thanks to the YMCA staff, students learned safety and how to feel more comfortable in the water. Second chance students have been learning about their community and team building skills as well as practicing their social skills through many hands and opportunities in the area, including attending the first annual Industrial Career Fair, hiking at High Cliff State Park, working with the Christine Ann Center, and touring the Little Farmer. Their upcoming PBIS celebrations will include pumpkin carving and costume contest, and they will enjoy an afternoon of treats at Second Chance. Webster Elementary PAC activity. Webster Stanley Elementary had their parent and child together packed activity at Shoreview Lanes. Families had the opportunity to bowl and have some fun with other families from school. They had a great opportunity to turn out with more than 40 families participating in the after-school event. Every student who attended went home with some new books to read. And congratulations, TENIC, a nonprofit, Teen Link, a nonprofit magazine dedicated to the celebration of writing talents of teenagers. Congratulations to sophomore Jenna Lynott on her recently published movie review in the October 2015 print issue of Teen Link magazine. Congratulations also goes to the Oshkosh North creative writing students, Jenna Hunter for her poem, and Tracy Schulke for a video game review. Both are published in the September 2015 print edition of Teen Link magazine. You can check out all of those places through the links that are on this slide. And lastly, you'll find the list of activities participated in by the superintendent in the last 2-week period. With that, be completing my report, and I'll turn it back to our board president.
Other reports from committee chairs, are there any? Dr. Hertzbeck?
Thank you, Mr. Dito. The Policy and Governance Committee has been very active this month. Since our last meeting, I believe we've engaged in 5.5 hours of committee meetings to continue work on the updated and new board policies. And we expect that those will be presented at the board meeting on November 4th in a staff report workshop form, and then hopefully to be voted on at the second meeting in November. Our next meeting is November 25th. All are welcome.
Thank you. Other reports of committees? Hearing none. Annual food service reports written. Non-agenda related public forum. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on a non-agenda related item? Agenda related public forum. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on the agenda this evening? Hearing none. Looks like we're moving forward for our first workshop, budget workshop. Susan Schmidt.
Good evening. Before I get to talking about the budget, I just wanted to bring up the fact that 2 of the resolutions this evening are for exceeding the revenue limits on a non-recurring basis for our energy exemption. In the past, every year, we would have to do a resolution, and there was a statute change that allows the board now, if you borrowed money like we did, to do this just once, and now then every single year we don't have to do this. We're automatically given the exception. But as you can see, when you read the resolutions, they're pretty cumbersome, but DPI actually gave us a template of what the resolution had to look like. So that's why the resolution is so cumbersome is what we have to do. So, but then we won't have to do that again every year. And it's just a reminder, in 12-13, we borrowed $21.5 million for energy efficiency projects, and 14-15, we borrowed $14.5 million. So that's what you're approving tonight. Oh, the other thing I guess I wanted to say is that the law also changed that the revenue limit exemption has to be reduced by the utility savings. So there's about $60,700 that we had to reduce our exemption for this year because that was the anticipated utility savings.
And that should be noted as really a savings to taxpayers because it reduces the debt obligation over time. So it's both doing good green work, energy conservation, but at the same time providing savings to taxpayers.
Now, membership is what's used in the revenue limit formula, and membership means resident pupils adjusted for FTE. It's not a head count of students in our building. It's a full-time equivalency of resident pupils. So if a child open enrolls to another school district, but they're our resident, we count them. If we have a student here from another district that's open enrolled in, we don't count them. So for revenue limit purposes, we count membership. And membership is actually down 13 from a year ago, September 2014. But for the revenue limit purposes, we get to include 40% of summer school count. And so when you factor that in, we are only down 5 students, 5 FTEs from 2014-15. And previous decreases in 2013, we were down 73. In 2014, we were down 81. So only to be down 5 is very encouraging. One of the other factors that it determines how much we can tax is the equalization aid. And our equalization aid went up over $1 million, $1,097,000. And the reason we were given such a large increase over some of the neighbors is, one thing, we had the referendum to exceed the revenue limit, so we spent $3.9 million more in 14-15 than we would have had that referendum not passed. Also in 14-15, we had the first payment on our $14.5 million borrowing, so between the two of those, we got more state aid instead of losing state aid like our neighbors. We're aided at about the state average, which is a little shy of 50%, so technically our aid should have went up more like $2 million than the million it did, but because the state aid pot wasn't funded as much as it should be, that's why we only increased by $1 million, but it was an increase. The important thing to note, though, is that this is not additional money to spend. The revenue limit formula controls our state aid and our tax levy together. So once the revenue limit formula is determined, if we get an increase in state aid, the property taxes have to go down, or vice versa. If we would have got a decrease in state aid, we could have taxed to make up the difference. So this isn't new money to spend, it just helps our taxpayers. The other issue that affected our tax is the private school vouchers. There's now 2 voucher programs out there. The one that started a couple years ago is that money goes directly from the state to the private schools. And I believe we had 75, 78 of those students. We were never given an exact number. It was just what was reported in the paper. And that money goes directly from DPI to those private schools. We don't count those kids. We don't know who those kids are. The transaction doesn't even involve us as a district. Starting in 15-16, the new voucher students, they have to be eligible for free or reduced meals. And that money actually gets taken away from us as a district to go to those private schools. But the plus side is we do get to count them in our revenue limit formula. But the downside to our taxpayers is if the students are counted in the revenue limit formula, that increases our tax levy. So our tax levy actually is going to be increased by $359,000 because of the choice program, which is about 7 cents on the mill rate. And it's actually 39 students. I put the wrong number there. It's approximately 39 students. And then we will end up paying $288,000 to the private schools, $7,200 for students K through 8, and $7,800 for students 9 through 12. So you can see we do gain about $71,000 in the transaction because we get to count those kids now, but we do have to transfer $288,000 to the private schools.
And the reason Sue cannot calculate because they don't identify those students for us, and we don't know, we can't calculate exactly because we don't know how many are weighted as K-8s or how many of them are 912s. And so it's an approximation based on, I think Sue used an average of the numbers to come up with that number 37 or 39, because the state has not released names to us relating to it. They just assure us that they are resident pupils of the school district.
DPI is claiming because the students have to be eligible for free or reduced price meals to participate in this new voucher program, that would be a confidentiality violation if they told us who those students were. Now, my argument is we know of our own students who's free and reduced meals, and we keep that information confidential. But they're using confidentiality as the reason not to tell us who those children are.
What is the system of accountability then? If the state won't release those names, who is accountable?
They
And
are
how is the
claiming
state
now
accountable?
that private schools will have to go through an audit, a membership audit.
To show home addresses and the like.
So
they can-
the records have to match. The private school and then the state record has to match.
Correct.
That's the accountability. Okay.
Yeah, and it's something that Sue learned from a business officials conference that was occurring, that private schools were having a hard time getting their data in on time. We always have X number of days to report properly the third Friday count, and some 2 weeks after that date, or 3 weeks after that date, the DPI was still struggling with getting the data from non-public schools, because they weren't used to having that kind of regulation in effect that certainly would make a difference for them as to whether or not they had revenue following those students.
But now those private schools are going to have to go through membership audits just like we do. We have to go through one every 5 years unless we're randomly chosen. In between that, they'll have to go through a membership audit also. And this isn't in your packet, but DPI put this information out not too long ago. Of the voucher students that are in there this year, there's 1,600 of them. 75% of them were already in private schools. And actually, that's how we benefited a little bit. If the student was already in the private school, we get to now count them in our revenue limit formula. So we now get $9,200 per student that we get to add to our revenue limit formula, and we only have to pay the private school either $7,200 or $7,800 out for them. If the child was already in our schools before, they were already in our revenue limit formula, but now we take the state aid and move it to the private school. So for those students that were already in our schools and left, we then now lose money on those students. But we don't know, in our case, which students they are, so we can't know whether they were ours before or not. We could just look, I suppose, at what kids left and try to figure out where they went would be on one option, but we don't know what our breakdown is. This is just the state number. 75% of the kids that participating in the voucher program were already at the private school. 19% came from public schools, 3% were not in school at all, 2% came from homeschoolers, and then a 0.2% came from out of state. So.
And it's even harder to detect, as we supplied to you as members of the board, the fact that in grades 1 through 12, we had a slight increase in total enrollment in the district with the third Friday count. And so its negative effects are not necessarily identifiable in that way, because, and what I suspect is that it's a combination of both new residents enrolling their children as well as some impact on the vouchers. I would expect it's not purely one or the other.
The other the closest we have to coming to our own information is DPI published by county what the private school enrollments were. So this is Winnebago County, and it shows, and so I don't even know within these numbers which are specifically Oshkosh. It's just these are the 3 private schools that are eligible for vouchers in Winnebago County and what their numbers are.
And bearing in mind, all of those schools have enrollees that come from outside the county.
Correct.
And outside, certainly outside of the Oshkosh School District.
Right. So that's all the information we have. Then when we actually get back to looking at the tax levy, our Fund 80 tax levy is up significantly, as you saw, but that is because we had a workshop not too long ago about the after-school programs, or CLCs. These after-school programs are mostly started by grants. Those grants are starting to evaporate, and so we are moving part of the cost of those programs to fund 80. And this is a legitimate use of community service funds as long as those programs are open to all students in your community, which ours are. So then this is the actual tax levy, and you had this information in your packet. As you can see, the general fund was down $721,000. It should be down $1 million because of the state aid increase, but because of the vouchers, we were able to increase our tax levy by $359,000 because of the vouchers. Fund 38 and Fund 39 are two debt service funds, and those are down just because of how the debt is structured. And then community service is up because of moving those CLCs to those programs. And then, as you can see, our tax levy is down just shy of 1%, but our mill rate's actually down 2.2%, and that is because our property values went up 1.3%. So that is the tax levy that that's presented for your approval this evening. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Consent resolution agenda. For the consent agenda, the board has been furnished with background material on each item or as discussed at a previous meeting. These will be acted upon with one vote without discussion. If a board member wants to discuss any item, it will be pulled out of the consent agenda and we will vote it on separately. Does anybody want to pull anything out of the consent agenda? Awesome. Then for the consent agenda, the board will consider approval of 1 minutes of September 23rd, 2015 regular board meeting, 2 minutes of October 14, 2015 regular board meeting, 3 bills payable, 4 personnel, A, appointments, temporary appointments of resignation and salary schedule, B, appointment of an administrator, 5, Wisconsin Quality Educator Initiative, PI 34 compliance, Number 6, resolution to exceed revenue limit on non-reoccurring basis for 2012. Number 7, resolution to exceed revenue limit on non-reoccurring basis for 2015. Number 8, 2015-2016 tax levy, which Sue just went through. 9, Springstead contract for referendum planning. 10, high school course additions, deletions, and modifications. Number 11, health and dental plan design modifications and adjustment to employee premium contribution percentages. Number 12, site department carryover funds.
So moved.
Second.
Can you call the roll, please?
Olmsted?
Aye.
Olmsted, aye. Vito?
Aye.
Vito, aye. Eliason?
Aye.
Eliason, aye. Evans?
Aye.
Evans, aye. Garner?
Aye.
Garner, aye. Herzog?
Aye.
Herzog, aye. Lumberger?
Aye.
Lumberger, aye. Motion carried.
Request for future agenda items. Does anyone have?
This may just be a clarification. We had recently worked with the superintendent as a board to define the superintendent goals for the coming year, and I know that the board policy, or the exhibit 225A, speaks to those as being SMART goals, that is strategic and specific, measurable, attainable, results-oriented, and time-bound. Did we put those in that format? I don't remember seeing a final copy of the goals in that format, and if we didn't, then I think we need to do that, whether it's in workshop session or the board leadership meets with the superintendent and does that, because that's really key to the quarterly updates, so that we know that we're making progress and that the progress can be measured, so that it's fair to the superintendent and to the board and the community.
I've been instructed by the board president and vice president not to proceed with doing SMART goals at this time, that the identified goals were clearly measurable as they now stand. So.
Okay. I didn't know that. Thank you.
Other future agenda items?
Maybe take, if there are none, I'd like to have Sue have a chance to introduce our new food service director that you just approved.
You just approved Lynette Zolik. She is here. She comes with a lot of experience and has done a lot of great things in the district she's been in before, so I'm very excited about her coming to Oshkosh.
Welcome.
Welcome, Lynn.
I just want to say thank you. I'm very excited to come to my Oshkosh. I've been in your district a couple days now, where I've been, thank you for touring me that evening. And today I was in your district all day. I was in a couple of your schools, and I think we have some great opportunities in the future. And so I'm very excited about it, and I appreciate all of your support.
And
You're going to let the kids have cupcakes again?
Work on that. Work on a really good whole wheat recipe. I bet
There we
make
go.
something happen.
Did you say bacon cupcakes?
Yeah. In addition to the structure of the food service, from the discussions of having given Lynette a tour of a number of both of our operating kitchens as well as a number of our food service site the night that she was interviewed, I learned a lot about her interest in doing some entrepreneurial things to really help with programs and activities with some internal catering and varying other things that she's done in the past, and we're looking forward to having her have an opportunity to kind of explore those opportunities with our organizations inside the school district as well as with her employees to find their interest in potentially expanding food service to be beyond simply breakfast and lunch. And
I can't wait.
Great.
I'm excited.
All welcome, for sure. At this time, it looks like, well, we have announcements. Are there any other announcements? Hearing none, adjourn to executive session for the purpose of considering disciplinary data of specific persons, 19.851F of Wisconsin statutes. A, review expulsion recommendation from expulsion hearing officer for a high school student who engaged in conduct while under the supervision of a school authority which endangered the property, health, or safety of others and repeatedly refused or neglected to obey school rules 121.3C of the Wisconsin statutes.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Tito?
Aye.
Tito, aye. Eliason?
Aye.
Eliason, aye. Evans?
Aye.
Evans, aye. Garner?
Aye.
Garner, aye. Herzog?
Aye.
Herzog, aye. Lumberger?
Aye.
Lumberger, aye. Olmsted?
Aye.
Olmsted, aye. Motion carried.
We are now